going to go over how to create an animation like this letter B here, which has these lines looping around it. So what you want to do first is go ahead and create a new composition. Doesn't matter what size, you can follow along on any size, but if you're doing a background like this, then it's going to be 1920 by 540. I'm going to title this letter B animate. If you have a letter like C or F that just has one outline, then you're all good. You don't need to change or anything, but I'm going to do a little bit more complex lettering with the letter B, especially the capital B, because it has two interior parts and then an exterior. So first thing, I'm going to go to Layer, Transform, Center Anchor Point, and I'm going to scale this up holding down Shift. And then what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to duplicate this layer, but I'm going to do it in a different way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to create shapes from text. And that's going to send it up here, which is going to be B outline. So we're going to go back here. I'm going to click on my original B layer, hit T for transparency, and turn the opacity down. Maybe to about 50, so you can still see it, but we want to be able to see our outlines. I'm going to open up this B outlines. What you're going to see is if you open up contents, there's the letter B. You have all these things, so let's figure out what they are. Okay, so that one is the outline. We don't, or the actual fill. Okay, we don't need that, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. We're not going to delete it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the fill on it. So don't delete that interior part. Instead, we're going to option click up here on our fill, and we're going to turn on our stroke to be whatever color we want this thing to be. So, and this is actually controlling all of these colors. So hit OK, and I'm going to just bump up my stroke weight a little bit here, make it a little bit thicker, not crazy. Okay. And then let's see what we have. So we have our outside, we have our bottom, and then we have our upper part. Okay. For this, now I'm going to turn on my eyeball on my original B, and I'll be able to see both. Okay. Now for this, what we're going to do is we're going to create some spaces. How we're going to do that? We're going to use our arrow, and we're actually going to go in and we're just going to double click on this, and one part at a time, just shrink these up a little bit so that they're inside the lettered shape that we're working with. All right, so that one's good. Double click outside there, double click on this, and hold down Shift. It should keep in proportion. I'll place that. Now, let's see. Okay, double click out here. I'm going to double click on the edge. For the edge, or really any part, I guess. Let's see. Get that whole thing. I'm going to make this thing bigger, but then I might have to adjust some parts anyway. So it looks like, yeah, I'll have to adjust. So you can actually go in on any of these and double click on it and then mess with an individual point. So I'm going to go ahead out here. I'm going to click. So what I'm doing is I'm going to double click on the lettering, the outside, and then double click on that. So I have all these highlighted. Then if I go over and I click on an individual letter, while I hold down Shift, it activates just that point. So let's see if I hold down Shift on this one. Now I have both of those. If I were to click off and I've deselected, I can go back. I can click on one. That'll allow me to play with it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one and just move it out a little bit. Okay, so again, just creating some space between our letter. I might move that over just a little bit. There we go. So I don't want to change, anything too drastically. It looks like that kind of got a little bit messed up. So I could fix that. Again, I'm just using my basic arrow. So that looks pretty good. Again, I can, adjust points and stuff as needed. So if you don't like the look of a particular thing, you can go and adjust it. So here, this gets a little bit complicated. So right now, we're actually going to do a trim path. We're going to do one on each one. However, we're going to create groups for these, because if you put a trim path, like right now, I'm on the let's see, this is the top inner part. I'm going to hit add trim path. And there it is. Let's see. So if I start messing with it, it is affecting that, but that's because that's the only thing that it's underneath. If I had it under another trim path, say I had this same one under here, it's going to do it to both those. So we actually need to create groups for this. So how I'm going to do that is go to my add and then group empty. I'm going to call this one by clicking and hitting return top B inner. Okay, and I'm going to create another one. And we'll go down here, hit enter, bottom B inner. And I'm going to move this one up here. Still want to keep it within that B, and then let's go ahead and create another group. And then I'm going to have to take that one out of there. And then this one return. This one will be outer B. So let's see, we have bottom B, outer B, and then where is our inner? Here he is. Top B inner. So we got to figure out which one's what. So that's the top B. I'm going to put that one in that group. This one is bottom B, so I'm going to put that one in that group. And then this one is probably the outer part, so I'm going to put that one in that group. Now we're going to go in and actually create these trim paths for all of them, and then they're only going to affect that particular part. So trim path, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mess with my start and end. Let's see what's going on those right now. The trim path is affecting all these, so I'm going to take this up, and I'll put that one on just outer B. Oops. Or top B inner. Just put it on that one. So that one's only affecting that one, and then this one is only affecting that one in the group. So if I close this all up, here's outer, top, bottom, inside, outer, we have a trim path. Inside, top, trim path, inside, bottom, no trim path, so I need to add one. So I'm going to go here, inside that, add trim path. Okay, and then I would maybe mess with that one a little bit too. So I just shrink them up a little bit. Here's my outer one. I'll go to that trim path real quick and play with that. And then what I'm going to do is start animating. So you could use start and end. I'm going to use offset. So I'm going to say offset. All right, turn on the stopwatch there, and then we'll have this one go for 8 seconds. And then the offset, you can go either direction. And what I'm doing is just bumping that number up or down. So you could type in 1, 2. So maybe I'll go like 8 times. All right. And I'll say, let's see. Boom. So in that span of time, it's going to go around that many times. Okay, let's go back. Okay, here's the trim path for this one. All right. That one's already set. I'm going to go down to offset, and I'll say that much, and then we'll say 6 times. We'll go different speed. And should probably create keyframes there. So I'll turn on that stopwatch. Stopwatch there. Type in 0. Go back to the other keyframe. And then that one will say 6. All right. So you're basically animating all these parts completely separate. So let's go in here. That one I'll say 6, and then I don't know, 65. Then this one will go 0 and 0. And let's see what it looks like when we play. And now we have our animation.